welcome to my workshop. This time I'm going to make a set of Kumiko style coasters. I made this set previously and I framed them with cherry, but this time I'm going to make a set and frame them with walnut. It's a fun and relaxing thing to do, and it allows you to use some hand tools as well as some power tools and some jigs that you'll make. So I hope you enjoy it. So what you have to do is you have to make a grid. So you need a table saw. So you need to have some pine. In this case, I'm making a 1/4 inch thick grid. So this was plain to a 1/4 inch, and once it's a 1/4 inch, then I can set up on my table saw a cross-cutting jig that would cut to half the depth of this. So then I would have a series of grooves all along here, and eventually I would then thinly rip these strips lengthwise, eventually getting strips like this, which are a bit oversized, which is where the next step with this jig comes into play. I would also take a piece like this and just rip solid strips like this. So they're all the same size approximately, but to make them perfectly the same size, then this planing jig is necessary. So this is set up for my block plane. It fits it perfectly. And the recess here is the exact thickness of what I want the final strip thickness to be. So this strip can lay in here, and there's a stop at this end to hold it as I plane, and so then I'll just take a series of passes and I'll flip it end for end. It's pine, so I found that it doesn't seem to matter the direction. I don't get tear out. And I just flip it end for end just to get the whole thing the same thickness ultimately. And eventually I'm not taking anything off, and then that is the desired thickness. So now this strip would be ready to go, and with these grid pieces I would assemble them, a number of them together obviously, to make a interlocking pattern, and then I put a little dab of glue in the interlocking section. So I made these earlier, which is the interlocking grid, and then I made the first diagonals. So these are a specified length. They have a 45-degree angle on either end. And in order to make the angles, they show how to make a number of these chiseling blocks. So this is cherry. This one's actually designed for 1/2 inch wide strips as opposed to a 1/4 inch. It's got an adjustable stop to fit the length of where this piece needs to be. This was pre-cut at 45 degrees on the chop saw, so that when I'm ready and I've cut some strips to length, I can lay them into that recess, and then I can just chisel off one side of it at 45 degrees, flip it over and get the other side at 45 degrees, and then have that end at a 45-degree taper. I use this block to cut these to length. I've already put a piece of tape on here so I know roughly where the length of the cutoff should be. So with my with all that prepared, then I can use this to cut off strips. So I end up with a small little piece like this, which is the right length, just minus the 45-degree taper. I can place that in there. I have a little stop that I built that has some sandpaper applied to it. That helps me hold that down and keeps my fingers away from the end of the chisel, so I can chisel off the end of this. Then I can flip that around. And then that little piece has a 45-degree taper on it. Piece should fit right into that spot. It's pretty close. It's probably a little bit loose. It would sit in there with glue, but the next one I cut, I'm just going to make sure it's just a little bit longer. Now it's time to put all the little 45-degree pieces in. Line these ends up so they don't bother me later. That's one. 3 more to go. So these are dry now. And I just saw the extra ends off. And then sand the edges first. And then front and back a bit. I'm going to make the framing pieces now to go around those little Kumiko panels. They're going to be 3/8 square, the rabbit cut into one side. So I want this to sit down pretty flush like that, and then I'll cut lengths and miter them. That looks just about right. So we'll start off by just getting a rough angle on this and just sawing a bit off. Just get it close, and we'll use this board to plane it 45 degrees, and then we'll cut another angle. All on here. Glue the miters. Always a favorite part. that first wipe of oil. These all now have 3 coats of shellac on them. And the final step is to put these little tiny felt feet on the bottoms. And there we have it.